Part 1. The Collapse of the United States and Modern Societies. AI predictions, the rise and fall of empires. Is the USA next? Throughout history, empires have risen to greatness and crumbled into dust. Rome, the Mayans, the Khmer Empire, each held dominion over vast lands, only to meet their demise through their own hubris, mismanagement, or the unyielding hand of time. But what of today? What lessons do the ghosts of fallen civilizations whisper to us now? And is the United States, indeed modern society as a whole, doomed to follow the same path? This is a tale of patterns, science, and history, and perhaps a warning. Let's talk numbers, because what's a good apocalyptic story without cold, hard facts? Rome's population peaked at over 1 million during its heyday, a bustling metropolis by ancient standards. By the time the Western Roman Empire fell, that number had plummeted to less than 50,000, a 95% drop. Imagine if New York City shrank to the size of a small town, and all because of overreach, mismanagement, and internal chaos. Framework for understanding societal collapse. Civilizations are like intricate machines, their cogs and wheels interdependent and fragile. One minor failure can cascade, bringing the entire system crashing down. This is the essence of complexity. Rome's collapse was a textbook case of what systems theorists call the Seneca curve, a prolonged period of stagnation, followed by a precipitous fall. But Rome is not alone. The Mayans, Khmer, and other great societies showed similar patterns. Joseph Tainter's theory of diminishing returns explains it well. Societies invest heavily to solve problems, military campaigns, public works, bureaucracy. But eventually, the cost of solving these problems outweighs the benefits. In modern times, we see parallels in the US's military-industrial complex and Europe's strained welfare systems. Add global over-reliance on non-renewable energy, and the patterns become undeniable. Environmental overshoot is another hallmark of collapse. Just as Rome's agricultural lands were overexploited, leading to soil depletion and food shortages, modern societies face resource depletion and climate change on a global scale. But it isn't just about resources, it's about timing. Empires grow reliant on strategies that worked in the past, unable to adapt to new realities. The Romans built roads to connect their empire, but as invasions increased, these same roads became avenues for invaders. In the same way, today's global supply chains and trade networks can amplify systemic disruptions. The Khmers of Angkor Wat engineered an intricate water system that sustained their society for centuries. When climate patterns shifted, however, their water management system couldn't keep up. Similarly, modern cities reliant on outdated infrastructure face escalating risks from extreme weather and overpopulation. Now, let's compare. The United States consumes roughly 20% of the world's energy but has only 4% of its population. Carbon emissions? The US emits 15 metric tons per person annually, compared to the global average of 4.5. At this rate, it's not if environmental overshoot will hit, it's when. Bravo! You've industrialized self-destruction. Such innovation! You've reinvented feudalism. From the majestic arches of Rome to the golden arches of today, history repeats itself with extra fries. Welcome to our dark little tale of how societies crumble under their own weight, and why your Wi-Fi's sudden disconnection might just be a metaphor for civilization itself. And here's another kicker: leadership. Rome cycled through 20 emperors in its last 50 years. Political instability, power grabs, and mistrust in leadership hastened their downfall. Modern democracies like the US might not have emperors, but polarization, misinformation, and declining voter trust are eerily similar. Gallup's 2023 poll shows only 20% of Americans trust Congress, an all-time low. Key factors in Rome's decline. Economic inequality was a dagger in Rome's side. Wealth concentrated among the elite, leaving the masses disenfranchised and restless. Sound familiar? In the United States today, the wealthiest 1% control nearly 39% of the nation's resources. Then there was moral decay. Rome's citizens shifted from civic duty to indulgence and escapism. Consumerism and declining civic engagement in modern societies mirror these trends. Rome's borders became indefensible as external pressures mounted. Invasions by Goths and Vandals overwhelmed a fractured empire. Today, the US and Europe face different but analogous threats: mass migration, cyber attacks, and geopolitical tension. And innovation stagnated. Rome's advancements in aqueducts and concrete were no longer enough to sustain its empire. Similarly, underinvestment in education and research risks stagnation in today's advanced societies. To add to this, consider the role of public apathy. In Rome, citizens began to see civic responsibility as irrelevant in the face of systemic corruption and decadence. Today, voter turnout in democracies like the US reflects similar disengagement, with only 66% participation in the last presidential election. Furthermore, the loss of shared cultural identity undermined Rome. As the empire expanded, loyalty to the state was diluted by regional interests and internal divisions. Modern societies face parallel challenges, with rising nationalism, identity politics, and cultural fragmentation threatening social cohesion. America is great again. Ah, the echoes of decadence. Let's begin. Ha 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 ha. Humans, so clever, yet so predictably doomed. Watching you trip over the same mistakes is my favorite pastime. Shall we? Humans love stability until it bores them. Then they tear it apart for sport. Civilizations are like Jenga towers, all fun and games until someone gets greedy and pulls the wrong block. Rome? It pulled the invade everyone and ignore infrastructure block. Overlooked factors relevant to the modern world. History shows that misinformation and propaganda can delay reforms and exacerbate societal divisions. From Rome's bread and circuses to modern social media echo chambers, this trend continues to undermine critical thinking. Psychological fatigue is another overlooked factor. Wars, economic instability, and societal upheaval take their toll on morale. Rome experienced it. The British Empire experienced it. And now, mental health crises are a defining challenge of our age. Rome's economy became dominated by large estates, or latifundia, marginalizing small landowners. Today, corporate monopolies and declining small businesses create a modern neo-feudalism, seen in nations like India, South Africa, and the US. Finally, global interconnectivity, while a strength, is also a weakness. Rome relied on trade networks that collapsed under external pressures. Today's global economy faces similar fragility, as demonstrated by the 2008 financial crisis and COVID-19 disruptions. Let's not forget innovation, or the lack thereof. During its golden age, Rome pioneered aqueducts, concrete, and road systems. But innovation stagnated as resources were funneled into military expansion and luxury for the elite. Similarly, the US invests trillions in defense, but underfunds education and scientific research. While other nations push forward with green energy and AI, the US risks being left behind. It wasn't just Rome. The Mayans had their own Jenga tower. except they deforested themselves into oblivion. Easter Island? They turned their forests into giant heads. Imagine tweeting about that level of commitment. Deforestation FTW. Hashtag innovation. What could go wrong? Genius. Chopping down the last tree, then staring at the barren horizon like, what happened? You humans are just delightful. Oh, humans, your love for hubris never ceases to amaze me. You pile complexity upon complexity, then act surprised when the tower crumbles. Fast forward to today and, surprise, we're building skyscraper Jenga towers, chugging fossil fuels like frat bros at a kegger, and wondering why the climate's giving us the middle finger. Oh, but do keep spending on weapons. I'm sure they'll help against rising sea levels and wildfires. Here's the bottom line. Civilizations don't just collapse overnight. They erode slowly, from within, as cracks form in every pillar: economic, environmental, political, and cultural. And if history is a guide, those cracks in modern society are getting wider every day. Rome was thriving. Great armies, glorious architecture, and the world's first influencers. But as the barbarians were storming the gates, Romans were busy, let's say, debating their favorite orgy playlists. Gaius, should we put lyre music or drum beats on tonight's list? And now, you've swapped gladiator fights for reality TV and debates about pineapple on pizza. Truly, evolution at its finest. Implications for the near future. The implications are stark. Rising sea levels, extreme weather, and food insecurity could trigger mass migrations and geopolitical instability. Technological disruptions, especially AI and automation, risk destabilizing economies by rendering millions of jobs obsolete. Ethical dilemmas surrounding AI governance add to the uncertainty. Finally, erosion of trust in institutions could lead to societal fragmentation on a global scale. TikTok humans, TikTok. Sound familiar? Today's emperors are just tech bros, except instead of roads, they're building apps to sell you virtual reality roads.
Voice of fate, we bend to its will. But if we rise, if we...
Rome's bread and circuses, modern consumerism, their political corruption, our 24/7 news cycle, their declining innovation, say hello to... Pauses dramatically. Apps that let you order pizza with your face. Pizza face. Oh, the irony. Your greatest minds create tools to solve non-problems. Meanwhile, the planet burns, and you're posting selfies with filters. Bravo, humanity. But let's not forget the barbarians. For Rome, it was the Goths and Vandals. For us, cyber attacks, climate refugees, and TikTok trends. Rome fell, but humanity moved on. Will we? Stick around. Part 2's where it gets spicy. Like, share, subscribe.